Hey lovies, I bet you thought I'd forgot about you, didn't you? But I'm here just to tell you that I haven't forgot about you at all. So you're listening to Be Yourself unapologetically, or you're listening to Becca, and the show is Be Yourself unapologetically. Right, before I start, a quick heads up. Today's episode touches on trauma, stress, and the impact it can have on family life. Nothing graphic, but if you're feeling wobbly, you can save this for later or listen with someone you trust. So I've been quiet, not because I stopped caring, not because I ran out of things to say. I went quiet because life recently turned into, a proper mess, and I needed to survive it before I could speak about it. So here's the truth. Lately, my life has felt like a how is this even real kind of chapter. The kind where you're doing your best, you're trying to keep things steady for your child, and yet everything keeps slamming into you like it's got an appointment. And I want to say this carefully, because I'm not here to share details or anything. I'm just here to share the impact. I was pressured around being a witness in a situation that triggered my past. I said no, I refused, because I know what my limits are, and I know what happens to me when old trauma gets dragged into the present and dressed up like it's just paperwork or just a statement. And the way I was treated for refusing, it made me feel like I was the criminal. That's the bit that I keep replaying. Not just the fear, not just the stress, the humiliation of being looked at like I was guilty because I was trying to protect my own mind. When something pokes an old wound, it doesn't politely knock and wait at the door. It barges in. It messes with sleep, it turns your body into a fire alarm, it makes everyday tasks feel like walking through wet cement. It makes you question yourself even when you've done nothing wrong. And then there's the worst part, the way trauma steals your voice. It convinces you that staying silent is safer, that being small is safer, that disappearing is safer. So I disappeared a bit. Not because I wanted to abandon my podcast, but because I was busy trying to keep myself together like a cracked mug held in place with both hands. And I also need to say this because it matters. My daughter has been through her own hell. And when you're a parent, you don't get the luxury of falling apart in peace. You're still doing everything. The appointments, the planning, the calming, the advocating, the nighttime worrying that no one else sees. You're still being the safe place. And some days I felt like I'm holding everything up with sheer willpower and a half-cold cup of tea. So if you've noticed my silence, that's why. It wasn't a content break, it was a survival break. So here's what I realised though. My life might feel like a car boot full of chaos right now, but chaos doesn't get to write my identity. Because I've done hard things before. I've rebuilt before, many times. And I know this about myself. When I finally speak, I do speak with purpose. So this episode is me choosing my voice again. Not to relive everything, not to overshare, but to plant a flag in the ground and say, I am not a criminal for having boundaries. I am not wrong for protecting my mental health. I am not weak for being triggered. I am human. And I'm also allowed to say something can be the system and still be traumatizing. I'm doing 3 things right now. Simple, not glamorous, but effective. 1. I'm naming what's happening. When I'm spiraling, I'm not calling it me being dramatic. I'm calling it I'm calling it what it is. It's a trauma response. I'm tightening my boundaries. I don't owe every part of myself to other people's processes. I can cooperate where I can and still protect my well-being. Both can be true. And I'm coming back to my own life, not the version where I'm constantly reacting, the version where I choose the next right step, even if the next right step is small, even if the next right step is breathe, eat, shower, repeat. That still counts. If any of this hits home, I want you to hear me. If you've been silent because you're overwhelmed, you haven't failed. If you've been coping behind closed doors, you're not alone. If you've had to choose your mental safety over other people's expectations, that's not selfish, that's survival. And if you feel like you're at the edge, please tell someone in your real world. In the UK, you can call Samaritans on 116 123, day or night. You don't have to be suicidal to call. You just have to be human and struggling. Thank you for being here, even while I've been quiet. This podcast is coming back gently, not perfectly, gently. If you want to support me, the best thing you can do is share this episode with someone who needs permission to start again. And if you're that person, this is your permission. I'm Becca, and this has been Be Yourself Unapologetically, and I'll see you in the next one.